Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And we have a three-peat today. This is my guest's third time to be on the podcast. I always love talking with repeat guests because it means they've got such great information to share with the listeners. So please join me in welcoming Nikki Rausch back to our program today. Hello, my darling. How are you?
I'm great, Deb. Thank you so much for having me back. And I'm so honored that I get to come back. Thank you.
Yay. I love it. I love it. And we're going to be talking about something that people go, ugh, at, right?
Yes.
And that's why I think it's really important for us to talk with you multiple times, because what we're going to be talking about is sales, right? Okay, everybody make the face, blah.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a great discussion about how it still needs to be very personal, and some other things. So let me tell folks a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into this. So CEO of Sales Maven, Nikki Rausch has the unique ability to transform the misunderstood process of selling with over 25 years of selling experience. Entrepreneurs and small business owners now hire Nikki to show them how to sell successfully and authentically. That part's very important. Nikki has written 3 books, all available on Amazon. She also has a fabulous podcast called Sales Maven, which you can find on your favorite podcast platform. So again, Nikki, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Cool. Well, tell us a little bit more about how you got to where you are today. I mean, why did you decide to help people with sales? Blah.
My first job out of college was a professional sales position. And from there, I actually got my job through a college project. And from there, became a professional sales rep. And at a young age, one of the things I always wanted to have control over was the money that was coming in. And when you're in sales, there's a commission structure to it, and you can kind of control your income level.
Right.
And I loved
Work
that.
harder, make more.
Yeah. Sell more, like make more. And so I had a really successful sales career. I was in the tech industry for just under 20 years. And while doing that, I started studying neurolinguistic programming. And if that's a new term to anybody, it's really the study of communication. And I started studying NLP because I thought it would up my sales game. And it did. But it really taught me how to be a much better communicator, which then, improved a lot of relationships in my life. And so when I got to a place, I was just about to turn 40, and I started kind of looking around and going like, okay, so I've been doing this, my whole career and selling kind of, the industry that I was in, even though it was this huge multi-million-dollar industry, it kind of felt small in that you kind of got to know the same people, and you were showing up to the trade shows with the same people. And I just thought, is this going to be it for me? Like, am I going to retire doing this, or what else is possible? And from that caused me to get curious. And I ended up leaving my job. People thought I had lost my mind. There was a rumor started that I had gone and joined a cult. Like, people were like, why would she leave?
Well, you do live in Idaho, right?
Well, I was
Isn't that
living in
where
Washington
all
at the
cults
time. But yeah, but I grew up here in Idaho, and I'm back. So, my NLP teacher had moved to Washington State, where I was living, and she was wanting to grow her business. And so I decided to start just to help her grow her business, just to see like what this is going to mean and what I would do next. And when I started helping her grow her business, it was the first time I started networking. Like I didn't really, the industry I came from, not like in the traditional form of entrepreneur, like networking.
Right.
And I started meeting all these really cool entrepreneurs that were filled with passion. And I was so inspired by these people doing these amazing things. And as I got to know many of them, they were really struggling with the idea of bringing money into the business.
Right.
And in business, if you're not bringing money in the door, you
We
have
are not
very
nonprofits.
expensive. No, it's a very expensive hobby to run a business and not bring money in the door. And the missing piece often was they just didn't really understand the selling process. And that was something I knew how to do. And so I started just kind of helping some of them on the side. And really Sales Maven, which is my business now, was grown out of people going like, dang, well, that worked. And like, here's the success that I had, and encouraging me to start this business. So here I am almost 13 years into my business and having the time of my life and really working with people around. I focus on the conversation of sales.
Right.
So it's how do you talk to somebody? How do you initiate a conversation? How do you move a conversation strategically in a direction that gets us to a place where we can decide we're going to do business together or not? And if not, bless and release. But if so, be strategic in how you lay that out. And so the idea is what I teach now and what I do now is really about building people's confidence. I teach frameworks and structures and, language and communication and all those things. But really it comes down to, can you have a genuine conversation with somebody, connect with them, understand, do they have a need? Do I have a solution that meets that need? And do I have permission to put that offer in front of them?
Right.
And I teach them how to do all of those things.
Right. And I'm one of those people. I love making the connections and talking with people and having a great, even telling them what I do, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, how do I, because I don't want to be the typical used car salesman.
Right.
I don't want to do that. So how do I get from that nice, warm relationship where they know me, I know what their needs might be, to actually say, I think you would be good. It would be good for you to work with me. I mean, you see, like I can't even figure out how to say it now. How am I supposed to figure out how to say it when I'm talking to a prospect?
Yeah. Okay. So I teach a 5-step process to the selling conversation. I call it the selling staircase. This is what I wrote my 3rd book around. And in there, and the reason I teach it as a staircase is because most people understand you ascend a staircase one step at a time. You don't start at the bottom, hop all the way to the top, right? Like
you do, but you're gonna wonk your chin.
Yeah, you're gonna, or like really bang your shins, right? Like it can feel dangerous to do that. So the idea is to understand in the conversation, what step are we on? And then based on what step am I on, I know how to initiate that next step, to how to invite somebody to the next step. And so it's usually in the form of a question. The missing piece often is step 2 in the selling staircase, and that's creating curiosity. Most people don't know how to create curiosity or really even think about creating curiosity when they're talking about their business or they're talking to a prospect. And curiosity is that thing that gets people to lean in. It gets them to want to know more. They're much more open to hearing what you have to say. But you do have to know how to create curiosity. And if you can do that and somebody shows interest, then your job as the seller is to just issue an invitation. And that comes in the form of a question. So instead of saying to somebody like, you should hire me, which we hear that all day long from people, right? It's a little aggressive. You say, based on some of the stuff you shared, it does make me wonder, there are some places where I wonder if working together would really benefit you. Would you be open to chatting about that more? Just like that kind of a question allows somebody to go like, well, I'm the decision maker now, right? You're showing respect to
I'm
them.
not being hit over the head with it.
No, I'm not being told what I'm doing wrong. I'm not being pushed. I'm not being, the person's not coming on strong. It's just a question. And then they get to go, well, maybe tell me more about it. Or yeah, actually, or like, no, thank you. And any of those answers are okay. the most important thing, and this is where often people struggle, is they never get the question out of their mouth.
Right.
And if you don't get the question out of your mouth, the other person can never decide whether or not they want to hire you
Right.
and whether or not they'll benefit from working with you. And because we're all so busy, we're all being bombarded all day long with all kinds of decisions. You know, decision fatigue is a real thing. And if we don't make it easy for people, if you make it like, well, they can think about it and they can come back to me if they decide they want to work with me.
Or they should know this is what I do.
Oh, yes, right. Yes. Oh, they should. Yeah. Like that's the I always say, you know, most of us think the whole world revolves around us,
Yes.
right? Like this is very human nature. We
I am
think
an only child, so
okay, so everything that's happening is happening for you, against you, or to you, right? And the example I often give about this is like the last time, I know you live in Atlanta, so and I've been to Atlanta, and you've got some traffic issues in Atlanta.
slightly.
Yeah. And so when you're sitting in traffic, do you ever find yourself going like, what the heck is up with all these people in front of me? Like, don't you guys have lives? Like,
Right.
don't you have jobs? Like, get out of the way. I'm trying to get to where I'm going. That's a great example, because one of the things we rarely think about when we're sitting in traffic is there are hundreds, if not thousands of cars sitting behind us thinking the exact same thing about
Why are
us.
you
Like,
in my way?
yeah, like we're traffic to everybody else. And so when we show up with this idea of like, well, people should just know what I do, or, you know, I told them what I did. Like we had a conversation 2 years ago. I'm sure they remember everything. No, they don't, because they're thinking about them and how it relates to them. And there's nothing wrong with them as a person for being that way, because that's human nature. So you need to show up from a place of like, I'm here to be of service, and I'm willing to extend myself, and I'm willing to re-educate if somebody's interested on what it is that I do and how working together might benefit them. And then I'm just going to put a really simple question in front of them so they can make a really simple decision. I don't say like, go and think about it and then call me if you want, because that's basically,
That's never going to happen.
no, because they're too busy. They've got too many other things coming at them. So your job is to just make it as easy as possible for the other person to make decisions along the process here through the conversation, so that we get to the place where I'm actually going to at some point issue a close question to you, and then you get to decide, yes, you want to work with me, or no, you don't. And either way is okay. But if I never guide you to that place in the conversation, I never get a chance to earn your business. And frankly, depending on who's listening to this, think about what you do in the world and the impact that you make and the results that your clients get when they work with you. If you don't invite people to work with you, they are missing out. You know, potentially there can be life-changing, business-changing things that happen as a result of the work that they would do with you. So you're kind of doing them a disservice if you don't ever issue those invitations and let them just decide.
Right. You know, and we are uncomfortable with. We're uncomfortable with asking for money. I think that's probably what it comes down to. And so then we do this waffling. We do all of these various things. You know, and it's interesting because my background is in marketing. And so, you know, what we've always been taught is, you know, find someone's pain and fix it. And I don't like that. I would rather find what would bring them pleasure. And, you know, and you know, sometimes that's alleviating pain, right?
Yes.
But to me, that whole pain concept is just negative.
Well,
and sometimes they do have pain, right? That you can fix.
For sure. The pain point thing, you know, the other kind of analogy, I'll give this story a lot of times when I'm on stage. It's like the person that comes up, they've got a piece of paper in their hand and they swipe it across your fingers, you know, and then you look down and you got some paper cuts and they go, bless your heart, darling, you're bleeding. And you go,
a Band-Aid.
Yeah, because you cut me. And they're like, well, I sell Band-Aids. They're the best Band-Aids around. It's like, well, I'm bleeding because you cut me. Like you cut me down. So this idea of pain points sometimes feels like paper cuts to me. And if that feels uncomfortable to you, then of course you're going to shy away from wanting to invite somebody to the next step or even initiate the conversation. So it's time to kind of reframe that a little bit. And, there is a misconception about selling. And a lot of the misconception is that people think selling is something you do to a person, but selling actually is something you do with someone.
I
So
love
if you're
that.
doing something to someone, that feels
That feels
manipulative and that
icky.
yeah, it feels icky, right? Like most of us don't want people doing things to us because we're like, oh, I probably won't like that. That won't feel empowering, or that won't feel good to me, or it'll feel like you're taking advantage in some
Right.
way. But if you start thinking about the selling process it's a with conversation. I'm not talking at you, I'm talking with you. And if the way that there's ways to do that, right? Talking at someone is showing up and being like, let me word vomit my whole
Right.
spiel onto you, and then, or send it to you in an email, right? Or send you a critique of your YouTube channel and word vomit all the things you're doing wrong. That's talking at people, and that's doing something to somebody. But if you instead start to show up from a place of a with, that means you're asking questions. And if you're asking questions in a kind, open, interested way that involves listening, and then taking the information that they're giving and then kind of moving the conversation along, should it make sense, now we're in a real conversation. And think about the last time you had a real conversation with somebody and it just felt so good to have that kind of connection with someone. And it's like, I always give the example of, imagine, I don't know, maybe you've had this situation, Deb, where you meet somebody for the first time and you sit down and you start having a conversation and you look down and you're like, oh my gosh, 2 hours has passed. It feels like we've been talking for 10 minutes because we're just in this like really good conversation. Now, on the flip side, imagine going somewhere and meeting somebody and you look down and you're like, it feels like I've been talking for 2 hours and we've only been here for 5 minutes, right? Like it's so exhausting. So when you have really good conversations with people, it's almost like everything else can kind of disappear and we can really enjoy the experience of it. And you can sell in a conversational way where the other person enjoys the experience and you enjoy the experience. And if one of the parties in the conversation is not enjoying it, we can end the conversation. And it doesn't have to be weird. It doesn't have to be awkward. Now, you had mentioned something about this idea of bringing up money. Money can be a trigger, right? And sometimes there's some work to be done around your kind of idea of what money means. And if you've got some negative kind of connotations around, well, money means bad and money. I mean, we hear this right now, especially in our society, right? We have a brand new minted trillionaire that they say has more money than the bottom 47% of the world. I know, right? Like it's this crazy. So then you start to get these like negative connotations around it. But one of the things that I think from a selling standpoint that's important to think about is when somebody hires me to help them with their selling, for instance, I try really hard not to think about like, oh, they're paying me all this money. The experience I hope that they have, and the experience that I do everything I can to set it up to be a good one, is I don't want them walking away going, well, I paid Nikki X number of dollars and here are my results. I want them walking away going, I invested in myself and look what happened.
Investment is the key term.
Investment, right? So it's still money. There's still an exchange, and there has to be an exchange, because if there's not an exchange of money, like we're not in business. So that is an important piece. But if you start thinking about that, people are actually making investments in themselves more so than making an investment in you, or an organization that hires you is investing in their team, or is investing in their people, or in their culture, or in the growth of their business. That's their investment. So of course you better show up and deliver and, do all the things that you've committed to and said, and help them get the results that you've said they're going to get. That's important. But the money piece, if you start thinking about this is them investing in themselves, now you go, okay, so it's not about me, right? Stop being the person in traffic complaining about the people in front of you when have all these people sitting behind you. Just think about, this is for them. So I'm going to show up and deliver for them so that they can walk away and go, look what we did, or look what I did.
Right. You know, and with products, most of the time people know the cost in advance. You know, and so what we're mainly talking about here are services. And I think it might have been Bob Berg, you know, somebody along those lines who basically said, don't give your price. You want them to see so much value in what you do that they'll pretty much pay anything. Now, you know, obviously there's extremes, but yeah, if you have built that relationship and shown them how you can really be of service and benefit them, they're, you know, they might not even ask that question. They might just say, send me the contract. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, I have had many people actually hire me, and then after, and I go, okay, well, you know, first step is we take payment, and then we schedule your first session, and they go, okay, well, here's my credit card, and then they go, oh, and how much is it? And I'm
Right.
like, oh yeah,
because they know whatever it is, it's worth it.
Now, on the flip side of that, I will say where we are in our society today is I think people are very savvy, and they're used to being able to access pricing, and
And
so
they want
don't
to
be
compare.
yeah, but don't be afraid to share your price, and don't hide it, right? If you make people have to jump through hoops to get
then
to
they're
the
gonna
place
go
where
to
they get the
somebody
price,
else.
they'll go to someone else, and also they'll feel suspicious. Like it diminishes rapport, and it really breaks safety when somebody is feeling like, why are they being so
Right. Especially if someone has asked for it.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
that's the thing. And I think we've all worked with people who have done that. And sometimes it's not so much that they're being evasive. Maybe it's along the line, I need to get to know a little bit more about what you need before I get there, you know, things like that. And which means they probably have a sliding scale, you know, things. But yeah, it's just so weird. And you know, and I mean, yeah, we've got this weird thing with pricing. I remember this was years ago when I still lived in Colorado. I was asked to speak at an event, and you know, and we were having this great conversation, and then I said, and my fee is, and I got crickets, right? And what they told me was, well, we assumed that you didn't charge because you love doing this. And you know, it was a good thing it wasn't on Zoom, right? And they couldn't see me rolling my eyes, because I said, I do love what I do.
Yeah.
But my banker doesn't like that, you know, or my mortgage or something like that. I said, no, you know, this is not. And it was funny because they actually, you know, the organization didn't pay their speakers. That was just their policy flat out. And, you know, and so what I negotiated with them was a membership. You know, and so that worked just fine. But yeah, we assume that because you love what you do, you don't get paid. Really? You know?
Oh, yeah. I think that's a very antiquated way to think about. Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, I think also that feels a little bit manipulative on their
Oh,
part.
yeah. A little
to even
passive
make that.
aggressive.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
all
feels
sorts
passive
of
aggressive, and yeah, so not the best
Right.
approach. But also, I would say, even in those moments where somebody has a misconception like that, like, give grace to the person, right? And don't take it as like, well, I've got to now justify my price, because you don't need to ever justify. You know, I always say in sales, if you feel like you have to convince somebody of something, you've lost.
Right.
So people don't like to be convinced. And, you know, think about the people in your home. If you want to change their mind about something, they'll be like, I'm digging my heels in the sand. I'm not moving no matter what you say or do. And we have that in our society, especially now. People don't, you know, there's too many people out there telling us that we're wrong all the time, and our beliefs about this is wrong, and our, you know, and our thoughts about that is, you know, incorrect, and all this. And so you don't want to be that person in the conversation. And so if somebody comes back to you with like, oh, well, I just thought you did it, but be like, oh, I'm so glad I gave that impression. And yeah, I do charge for it. Like, you just leave it as like, it's okay. Like, I don't need to go, well, you know, I've got this many years of experience, and oh, I've got this, and I've got, no. I always say there has to be a balance of power in a conversation, especially in a sales conversation. You don't give the client all the power or the prospect, because they'll abuse it. You know, there's studies out there. It's a little bit, again, it's kind of human nature. And then you don't take all the power, in the
Right,
conversation
because
because
they're not going to feel good either.
no, and they'll go find someone else to work with.
Right.
So there has to be a balance of power in the dynamic. And so that means that it needs to be conversational. That means they need the opportunity to speak up and ask questions and voice their thoughts about something. And you should be asking questions that allows them to do that. And you should be okay with them asking you questions and you having an answer. But if you feel like in your sales conversations that your job is to show up and be the monkey and dance for your dinner, you are you're giving them all the power and they won't value what you do. So, one of the things I rarely will do this is if somebody's like, well, tell me, why I should hire you. Like, I'm not going to just answer that question. I'm going to have a
Back
question
to
back.
dance,
Right?
right?
Like, because if they're saying be the monkey, dance, Nikki. Actually, I had somebody do this one time. I was at a speaking gig and just before, and there was like, I don't know, more than 100 people in this room. And just when I was right before going on stage, this young man came up to me and he was like, pushing back about sales and what sales means. And he goes, okay, so let's see how good you are at sales. And he hands me this pen and he goes, sell me this pen. And I took the pen and I said, are you in the market for a pen? And he said, no. And I just tossed it away and I said, nice to meet you. And I just turned around and walked away like, you don't get to put me in a position. I'm not the monkey and I'm not here to dance. This has to be a mutually beneficial relationship. And if I act like you're the leader, you're in charge, I'm going to do whatever you ask, then we know those people get walked all over. But also the people who show up and they're like, I'm a really big deal. And if you want to work with me, you have to jump through hoops. Like, I'm the person that will say, no, thank you.
Bye.
I'll go work with someone else.
Yeah. And then the other ones that annoy me, and again, this is human nature, and I understand this, are the people who want to dicker, right? They're and they're the people who I mean, really, you could tell them it's $1,000, and they're going to say, I'll only pay $900. Well, then and but that comes back to that relationship, right? And of course, everybody wants. I shouldn't say that. I was going to say everybody wants a bargain, but I'm not sure that's right.
Yeah,
because,
I don't know.
A lot of times you get what you pay for, right?
Yeah.
If you pay bargain pricing, if you pay cheap, then you get that.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, and I've had people who have said, okay, I will say, okay, we're going to build you a website. It'll, we get through the whole conversation, yada, yada, yada. And it comes down to, okay, the fee is going to be $5,000. And they turn colors and they say, well, I only have $2,500. And rather than saying, oh, okay, I'll do it for that, right? Which is what we want to do because we don't want to lose their business.
Right.
I tell them, what would you like us to change to get it down to that?
Yeah.
And almost always they figure out, okay, either, I can do half, or, oops, I'm going to find more money. And that comes back to that balance, right? You weren't saying, well, you idiot, we can't do this for that. It's, okay, I understand your budget constraints. What do we need to do to work within that?
Yeah. I have a technique. I actually just taught this and I did a podcast about it on the Sales Maven podcast too. I call it the yes and boundary.
Yes.
So I love to say yes when somebody asks me for something. And I learned that sometimes when you say yes, then you regret later. When you say yes to things that are outside the norm or changing your pricing, and I actually teach 4 different areas where you bring in the yes and boundary. Frankly, you can use it in all areas of your life. But you don't just say yes. You say yes and one of those, this idea is around changing scope. So like your example of like, I only have 2,500, but it's 5,000. And you go, yes, we could do a $25,000 commitment. What would you like to give up?
Right.
Now it's a yes and with a boundary attached to it. So if you still want to earn the business, and it's also okay to say, well, it sounds like we're not a good fit. So I'm so glad I got to meet you and I wish you well. And if something changes, you're welcome to come back to me. That's a bless and release. But if it's a yes, I want to keep this prospect or I want to keep this opportunity, and you have to have a boundary attached to it.
Right.
So even sometimes, someone will ask like, well, can we do this or can we change that? My answer is yes, and here's what I need in return, because again, it has to be a balance of power. in the dynamic,
Mhm.
they don't get to hold all the
Mhm.
power. I don't get to,
Right.
there has to be balance. So one of the ways to balance is to say, you know, I could do it for that if you're willing to commit to X number, of months of working together, or
Mhm.
I could do it at that price. And that means we would give up
Mhm.
this other kind of piece here. Or
Mhm.
like your yes and boundary is
Mhm.
such an important technique to
Right.
learn. I've been
Mhm.
challenging my community members for my group coaching program to just practice this and like act like it's a muscle and you're starting to build it.
Mhm.
And you can practice it with your friends, with your family. You can practice it when you're, ordering your
Mhm.
tea at
Mhm.
Starbucks
Mhm.
or wherever you want to,
Right.
do
And it's
it.
an
But
improv technique. I mean,
it
that's
is. Yes, and, but you
Right.
gotta have a boundary
Mhm.
attached
Mhm.
right after the
Right.
and. I love to say yes, and I'm very comfortable with the and the boundary
Right.
attached.
And to me, the opposite of that is no but.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
No, we can't do that, but because that immediately that changes the tone of the conversation
Yes.
and makes it a negative,
Yes.
no, you idiot, but we will, right? It's kind of, oh, okay, like you said, I live in Atlanta. No, but bless your heart. And then we're right, but yeah, and so think about that. How can you say yes and you're not saying, yes, we will do it for that.
Right.
It's that and that continues the conversation. And as you've been saying, this is about having that conversation and
Mhm.
and guiding it along.
Yes. The more that I would say, the easier you make it for people to make decisions, the easier you make it for them to work with you, the easier you make things, the more likely you are to earn their business. And the thing about earning business is the other kind of piece that follows along is earning repeat business.
Yes.
So, I often think about when I will say yes to something is this going to increase the lifetime value of this client for me? Like, is there an upside to saying yes? For me, for the business, right? If I'm making a concession or like what is the opportunity here? Is there opportunity for additional business? Then maybe you might have some flexibility. But if it's a one and done thing and it's like, yeah, with the kind of investment and time and energy and work that's going to go into this, it's like the price is the price. And whatever your answer is totally perfect.
Right.
The deal is, how do you deliver it? Can you keep rapport intact when you're saying thank you, no thank you? Can you keep rapport intact when you're saying yes and inserting a boundary? Like that becomes the most important piece.
Right. Right. And it really is about, as you've been saying, about that relationship.
Mhm.
Because even if we are selling something that is a one-time thing, I can't, for the life of me right now, I'm not even thinking of anything that would just be a one-time thing. But there's referrals, there's other things that come from it. So it's usually not this isolated, hey, you're going to do that. But of
Mhm.
course, the hard part is when we do have bills to pay, when we need all of those things.
Yeah.
And so sometimes drawing that line is hard.
Yeah.
But I think it's more important to be doing it then so that you're not getting walked on. I mean, I'm thinking back to when I first started my business, probably when you first started your business, we all took clients where we thought probably shouldn't have done that. Right? But it paid
Yes.
the bills at that point
Yeah.
in time. And there have also been clients where they would have really paid the bills. And I've thought, they're, and for me, it's that gut instinct,
Yeah.
and it's okay, and I try and have it as a win-win-win. I'm sorry that's not going to be a good fit for me, but hey, I know this fabulous other person that would be great because then you make everybody happy.
Right.
But there are just times where it's like, no, and I'm going to warn everybody else off. But yeah, but when we have the bills to pay, then just make sure that we've got those boundaries. I was
Yes.
talking to somebody just yesterday, and he's been in business longer than I have. He doesn't do contracts. He just doesn't. And and I hate that I do. And unfortunately, the reason I do is because I've been burned.
Mm.
And or the clients ask for them. I mean, like they're really insistent that they need a contract.
Mhm.
But that is all part of this. Can we still operate on handshakes? Sure. Obviously,
Yeah.
it depends on what it is, and some of it depends on the amount of money and time and all of that good stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, but the key is to have all that in advance. to not be having to think, oh my gosh, and one of the things that you work with a lot of people on now is their sales team.
Mhm.
Right?
Yes.
And because you might be the most fabulous salesperson in the world, and because you're the most fabulous salesperson in the world, well, you need to take on somebody else because you've got, and all this. And so what needs to be in place so that we can really help those who are selling on our behalf?
I love this question so much, and utilizing your team is such a critical piece. And I think a lot of times people don't think about there needs to be a training component.
Right.
Just because somebody has a good personality or
Mhm.
just because they're really good with customers doesn't mean that they're going to be good at the selling piece. So if they've never been trained on selling, like get them some skills around it if they're going to take on that component. And then the other thing is understanding more so than anything is they need to understand what they're selling.
Mhm.
It's so hard to sell something if you don't really know what it is. I mean, this is one of the things I work with
Mhm.
businesses on all the time where they're like, well, I'm thinking about just reaching out to people and seeing if they're interested in something. And I'm like, well, we need to know what the offer is.
Right.
Because if you don't know what you're selling, you can't sell it. And if somebody expresses interest and you can't say, here's the service or here's the, product or whatever, like they're not going to make a decision.
Right.
And now you might have missed the chance to ever earn their business again. So your team needs to really understand what they have the ability to sell.
Right.
And then, I mean, I can go on and on about this, but one more thing I'll say is one of the prime opportunities that your team can sell for you is with repeat business,
Right.
with your existing client base. And so one of the things that I do work with teams on a lot of times is helping them understand how to plant seeds and create curiosity when they're having conversations with your existing client base about what other ways to work with you.
Right.
And then that opens the door for additional opportunity. Because kind of what you said, what we talked about earlier in the conversation, this idea that, well, they know what I do. And
Or
oftentimes
they've worked with us already.
yes, right? Like, well, they've been working with us for 2 years or 5 years. They know what services we offer. No, they don't. They know the service they're buying from you,
Right.
but they don't necessarily know what other services you offer. And if your team is engaging with them, there's really interesting ways for them to bring it into a conversation that doesn't feel aggressive or salesy or pushy, but allows to potentially spark curiosity in the existing client to go, oh, well, what would that look like if you did that for us? Or, oh, well, we don't have that service with you. How do we get that added on? That is such a prime, like, it's so ripe for like the picking of your existing client because repeat business is always the easiest business to earn. But a lot of times people think, well, I just got to go out and find new clients all the time. Well, I mean, yes, you should be filling your pipeline with new clients 100%. But if you have existing clients right now and you have team members that are engaging with them, I guarantee you there's opportunities there to earn additional business.
And former clients also. Hey,
Yes.
you haven't worked with us in a while. Did you know that now we offer
Yes.
XYZ?
Yes. I just had a session yesterday with a client and he was talking about this new offer and we were looking at his client list and I was like, well, how many of these clients know about this new offer? And he's like, well, I haven't told anybody yet. I'm like, wait, you're just telling new people that you're talking to? You haven't told the existing, like people who already know you and like you and have shown interest
They've
in
given
buying.
you money in the past.
They've given you money. I was like, everything that we've talked about up until now, this is your priority. Your priority is to go back to your existing list of people and let them know about this new service because that is going to bring money in the door.
Right. Either them or through a referral.
Yes.
And then to me, the other thing is empowering your sales team, right? Clearly, you can't tell them, go do whatever, because then they'll give the farm away. But, I remember the last time I bought a vehicle, and I hate doing that. That's one of those things that I hate doing. I've done all my research. I know what I want, all that stuff. And so, we're talking to the sales guy, and I've got to go talk to my manager. Right now, I'll say that.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, if you come back with a piece of paper and a happy face drawn on it, I don't know why they have to do that. I said, were walking out. And because I knew he's not, he goes and talks to, but they're not saying, okay, no, they're not dickering. I mean, the sales guy is going to tell you, he knows, he's worked with that manager. He knows we can drop 1,000, we can give you whatever. He knows that, but they do this whole thing. And I think one of my favorite examples, and I say this all the time, and this is, partially because I am here in Atlanta, the home of Chick-fil-A. They empower all of their sales associates, right? And I've tried this before just to see what the heck they do. And sometimes you get the, look, and then other times they really do. You go up and it really only works if you're talking to them in person. So no drive-through, no, it certainly doesn't work if you're on your app, right? I would like 1 chicken nugget. And they sell them in what, 4, 6, whatever's.
Yeah.
And they can do that. I think they end up charging you like a quarter or something like that, right? And so it actually is. But yeah, they are allowed to say, sure. Now, of course, what they should be saying is, more than happy to do that. Are you sure you don't want the 3-pack? Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I mean, if I only want 1 chicken nugget, they will sell me 1 chicken nugget. And there are obviously times when somebody has to go ask their manager, their supervisor, their whoever, but empower them that when it's something pretty simple and pretty basic, sure, you can go ahead and approve that.
Again, think about what we talked about, dynamic and relationship and balance of power, right? If they're always having to run and scurry and get somebody else's kind of, take on it or mark on it or smiley face on it, yeah, what does that do from the like the client that's sitting in the other chair?
Yeah.
What's the impression that you're leaving with them?
Oh, I've been known to tell them, just let me talk with that person.
Exactly. Like, let me talk to the decision maker. Because this runaround, this back and forth, like, I know you think it's a game and it probably seems fun to you, but to me, it's annoying. So it's not going to do anything to deepen the rapport or deepen my loyalty to your business if you treat me like we got to play games. It's like, we're here to spend money. You have something to sell to me. Like, can we find a middle ground, right? Or can we find a solution that works for both of us? Yeah, this idea of like not empowering your team, there's really no point in asking your team to sell for you if you're not going to give them any empowerment of any decision making or any, like a friend of mine who's a fantastic speaker and fantastic businesswoman, she gave this talk about failing forward. And I love this. And I think about this with my team all the time. Like, if my team member makes a mistake, as long as they acknowledge, okay, and I understand, what I did here. Like, I don't really ever get upset. I never get upset about it. It's because they're like, as long as they're failing forward, it's like, it's totally okay to fail.
They learn from it.
Yeah. Like, okay, so what are you going to do differently next time? That to me is so much more important than, oh, well, you left $500 on the table, or you cost me this, or like, no, none of that stuff matters. It's like, is the team learning? Do they feel empowered? And can they speak on my behalf with a client in a way that I'm going to, even if it's not exactly the way I would say it, and even if it's not exactly the price I would charge for it or whatever. But if they show the initiative, like, I'm going to reward that behavior, because that's something you can work with versus the person that's like, I can't do anything. I have to, Nikki has to be involved 100%. And then it's like, well, what do I have a team for? Like, what's going on here?
Right. Well, now I'm going to turn the tables on that.
Okay.
So I'm the salesperson.
Yeah.
How do I know that I've got the decision maker that I'm talking to? Or, because a lot of times you're initially talking to somebody else.
Yeah.
But how do you advance it to who else do I need to talk to? Or, without belittling them, well, you can't make this decision, so who do I need to talk to? So how do you get to that decision maker?
Well, here's one of the ways. So for me, it's always about language and how you frame a question, how you frame it. So here's the way I recommend people frame the question is you say, now, whom besides yourself is involved in the decision-making process?
So you're still empowering them.
you're showing respect that of course they're involved in the decision-making process at whatever level. It doesn't matter, but be respectful of them and their position. So whom besides yourself is involved in the decision-making process? And then what is your criteria for choosing the company that you're going to hire or choosing, to move forward? You need to understand who's involved in the decision. You need to understand their criteria for making decisions, or, how are they going to choose? And also you need to understand their budget. And those are, I call these the right fit questions. I teach 2 types of questions that you ask when you're working with clients or prospects. It's the right fit questions. So those are those very specific: budget, whom besides yourself is involved in the decision, what's your criteria, like what's the challenge they're having. Like, you need those right fit questions. And then the other type of questions that I recommend people ask are what I call your expertise questions. These are the ones that plant seeds around your, like, what you have as far as deliverables, what's possible for them in their, when they work with you. And so instead of, being the person who's like, well, let me tell you of all the things I've ever accomplished and all the results my clients have gotten, I'd rather ask a question that plants a seed that lets the buyer know, oh, I'm talking to somebody who can help me with something, or they're asking me questions that I hadn't really even thought about, but obviously are important in order for me to achieve this goal that I've set, right? So your expertise questions are crucial in addition to your right fit questions. And if you don't know how to ask either or of those in your consultation calls, chances are you're winging your consultation calls and or you're leaving a ton of money on the table.
Right. And then one of the other things kind of along the similar lines is don't ever assume someone's not part of that process. And I'm thinking about, like one of the times when I went to buy a car, it was my car. Now my husband's with me, but I'm the person who's driving it. They wouldn't even talk to me. Wouldn't even, and it was like, and we kept telling this salesperson who was very young, it's my car. And he finally says, honey, what color would you like? And I turned around and walked out. And so never assume that. And I tell people that when they're interviewing for a job, right? Never ever assume that person at the front desk isn't going to say he was rude, she was nice, things like that. You never know who that other little input that's going to sway the deal is going to be. And so, that just always be polite, always be nice. All of those things. Yeah, you never know when, and it might even be the person sitting next to you, depending on what it is, but who knows what the heck is going on, and I think that especially like at networking, right? Where everybody kind of knows everybody else. And so don't ever assume that you can kind of be dismissive or rude or whatever to person, over here, because they might really have the ear of the person you're talking to.
Absolutely. Another kind of example of this that I teach clients a lot is when you are speaking or training or teaching and you're going to an event or even a networking event, I always think, okay, as soon as I am headed out to my car, so from the time I'm getting in my car until I get to the venue, till I'm up on stage or whatever, I'm on. And people can see me, people are having an experience with me. And it reminds me of years ago, I had this client in Phoenix and they used to fly me in couple times a year, actually, usually almost every other month. I'd fly in and do sales training for their new hires. And I remember leaving the hotel and following my whole process, right? Like I've left the hotel, I'm in the car, I'm driving to the venue, and I'm still miles away. And this car cut me off.
Oh, no.
And I remember just like, okay. So
whatever.
I ended up following them all the way into the event, like to the venue, right? And turns out they were one of the participants in the room. And the only thing I kept saying to myself, like, Nikki, I'm so glad that you didn't have any kind of negative reaction.
You didn't flip them off.
I didn't flip them off. I didn't honk. I was like, no, because if I had honked, even though they were in the wrong, they cut me off, they were driving a little erratically, even though if I had walked into the room and like, here I am, your trainer for the day, that could have completely ruined the tone for everybody else in the room, right? Could have been soured on me because their friends over there going like, oh, she's a real, B word
Yeah.
because she
You
honked
won't
at
believe
me.
what she did.
Right,
Right.
right.
And then it
So,
goes through the
yep.
thing, and pretty
So you're
soon you
just
smashed
on.
his car, you ran him over. I mean,
Yeah, you never know, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, it's just like
Mhm.
you're on, and you need to remember that people are making judgments about you. They're forming
Right.
impressions
Right.
of you.
Were
And
you nice to the barista who was getting the Starbucks for you before you walked on stage?
yes.
Mhm.
Yes. I I always tell, especially my female clients too, like in the bathroom, women talk in stalls.
Right.
They hear what you're saying. They see how you're being in the mirror, all these things, like these things matter, and people are making judgments. I remember one of my clients one time going like, "Oh, I just go in the bathroom and I just put my head down and I don't talk to anybody." And I was like, "Wait, you're in the bathroom at the venue where the audience members are also like, you need to be your on friendly self because they're making assessments and judgments about you."
Right. Yeah, and remember, same thing too if you're on your phone.
Yeah.
You might be off in the corner having a private conversation that people hear.
Yeah.
I was at one time where they were talking bad things about the
Oh,
event. And and then they realized I could hear them. And all I did was smile. And you could tell they thought, "Oh, crud."
yeah.
Right? Yeah, I mean, when you're in your car, everything's shut, you're in your hotel room, whatever, that's when you have those conversations.
That's right.
You don't do it any other time. Well, we don't have a ton of time left, and
Okay.
and so I want to get to the biggie though, the really
Okay.
big question. Okay,
All
we've
right.
done everything we're supposed to do, and then we forget to close the deal. All right,
Okay.
they're ready, and we go, "Okay, Nikki, I'll be in touch."
Mm.
And then we never reach out. So how in the heck do we do that close?
Okay, well, I want you to do it on the call with them right before we
Right,
end it,
yes.
if possible. But let's say you don't do it, and it happens, right? Sometimes things get away from us. So my suggestion is that you do a follow-up message, reach out with an
Right.
invitation for a next step. So it could be a next step for us to get back on a call to decide, to answer any lingering questions, make decisions
Finalize
about
the
working together.
agreement, whatever.
Yeah, it could be that, or it could just be, and here's the information for you to get started, right? Like, but there needs to be a follow-up and it needs to happen pretty quickly. So if you miss attempting to schedule that next step before you get off the call with them, then you need to do that in the follow-up message. As a matter of fact, if you're open to it, Deb, I even have I call it a follow-up made easy guide where I give some scripts. I'm happy to give that to your audience.
Oh, I love that. I love
Okay.
that.
Should I just drop the link
Yeah.
for it?
Put the link in the chat, and
Okay.
then I will add it to the show notes. So cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you can just go download that. And I have a bunch of scripts in there for different types of follow-up.
Cool. Perfect.
But realistically, there has to be this follow-up message. And a lot of times people go, "Well, I don't really know what to say," or "I'm not quite sure."
Or they'll be in touch.
Yeah.
No.
No. No. They
Even
won't.
if they really, 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 really want it.
Yep.
Because they finish, their phone rings, the email pings, the kid yells, whatever. And pretty soon they were like, "I was going to do something."
Yep. I get this a lot because I do a lot of edits for my group coaching clients on their emails. And I just had somebody, I think it was yesterday, say like, "Oh, I sent this follow-up and they didn't respond. What should I say now?" And so I have, scripts for them, but she sent she sent me what she wanted to send. And so then I made some edits to it, and she sent it, and 5 minutes later got a response. And I was like, this, like your
You made it
follow-up
easy.
messages. Yes, it matters.
Right.
And it wasn't necessarily the answer that we wanted, but at least it's an answer. That means they're reading your messages. That means that we know what to do next. And so they actually gave like a next step. That's so important. So follow-up is so important.
Right. Yeah, and along the same lines is a call to action, right?
Yes.
I was on somebody's website the other day. I really was interested in what they were doing. I looked and I looked, I scrolled all the way to the bottom. I went to other pages. I couldn't find a way to contact them.
Oh no.
I was like, "Oh my gosh," and of course I didn't want it enough to research further.
Well, if you have to jump through hoops,
I
what's going
know,
on?
and I mean, I don't mind, especially if I'm on a website, when the contact us, when the ask for more, whatever, if that's at the top, okay, I'm
Yeah.
cool with that.
Yeah.
Because then it makes it easy. But yeah, it was I literally could not find a phone number for them, and I don't like sending emails to the info at,
Yeah.
and all of that. But yeah, but oh my gosh, Nikki, we've only got a couple minutes left, and we didn't even talk about the one thing I wanted to talk to you about, and so we'll have you on again, and that's
Okay.
using AI to help you
Mm.
sell. Yeah, it's a great tool, but
It's
it
a
should
tool.
never replace the person because, as you've said, it's conversation, it's relationship. Yeah, you can schedule AI to send a follow-up email or something like that, but especially if it's like a funnel that you're having people go
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
But don't assume that they're gonna buy from that AI, even if it's something they really really want, because somebody else's person will say, oh, it's so great to talk to you today. What's your weather like? Oh, I like you.
Yeah, having that personal connection. My NLP teacher used to always say, the more high tech it is, the more high touch you need
Yes.
to really keep that relationship intact. And so, we still buy from people and we want to connect with people. So make sure the human side of you, it is a differentiator because,
Especially now.
I'm sure you get these too, Deb, right? Like I get pitched so much for people to come on the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
And there's this new style of pitching,
Mhm.
where I actually did an episode around it where they compliment you and then they insult everyone else, that pitch, like, oh, I
Yes.
listen to
Oh,
your
I got one of those
podcast.
today.
I've gotten hundreds, like literally hundreds of those. They all sound the same. They're all for different people. But it's like, well, yeah, because AI wrote this and somebody
Right.
fed to
Somebody
AI
said,
that
hey,
this is a
pitch
good
me. Yeah.
strategy. And it's a
Yeah.
terrible, it's
Right.
an absolute terrible
Well,
strategy. And
and
every message
yes.
looks the same.
Yeah. And
So
then
I
what
know
I really hate is if I have responded, and anymore I don't. If I can tell it's an AI pitch, I don't respond. But if I have responded and I get no response to that, but a couple days later I'll get the just putting this back up into your email
yes.
again. Then I know it's not a person, and then their
Yes.
email gets blocked, right?
Yeah, same.
I'm like, no, I responded to you, you dingbat.
Yes.
And now stuff gets caught in spam folders, all of those various things, right? But yeah, but you're right. I mean, when it's almost word for word, and I don't care if it's a LinkedIn pitch, a pitch for the podcast, and yeah, I get several a day of those
Yeah.
where I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
nope. And I've actually sometimes I've compared them, and it was more because I thought, is this the same agency pitching me two different people? Because that happens, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was,
Right.
two totally different. And it was almost word for word. I thought, oh no.
Yeah. Because that we're all being bombarded with all this stuff coming at us. And when it all sounds the same, like you're just the one of many. You don't want to be one of many
No,
in a
no.
sales
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, we have to be unique, even if what you're selling is a pretty common thing.
Yeah.
That's why you have to be unique.
Let your personality. This is why I always tell people, I don't teach people how to sell like me. I teach you how to be more strategic in your conversations so that it is you showing up as your genuine self and being, like, let's be our best version of ourselves and be strategic. That's great. But learning and trying to pretend to be like someone else, then you might as well just get AI to do it for you.
Right, right. Well, oh my gosh, Nikki, we really will chat again. But I know that there are people out there who are tired of spinning their wheels. They think they're on the hamster wheel. They're not making the money they want, and they don't quite know why. So, how do they find you, and what are the services that you provide?
Well, going to this link that I'm going to give you will get you the follow-up made easy. So it's just yoursalesmaven.com/easy follow-up.
Perfect.
And then we'll be connected, right? And then I've got the Sales Maven podcast. So on your favorite podcast app, you can find that. And the way I work with clients is a few ways. I have a group coaching program. It's called the Sales Maven Society. And that's where participants get access to my training center. They get access to me and a private group. And I do live coaching calls and I do live sales practice sessions for that group. And then I have private coaching, one-on-one opportunities for people who are like, either they just have, an issue that they need some support around, whether it's a proposal they're putting together or an offer, or it's a challenge they're having with an existing client. And then I have ongoing coaching opportunities that are private for people.
Cool. I love it. And we'll put all those links in the show notes.
Thank you.
This really has been fun. Okay, it was 4 years between your last appearance and now. So we will not do that again. We'll make sure
goodness.
that I know 2022 and before then 2014. Oh my gosh. You were like guest 130. So we're way back.
Oh
way back.
goodness.
But yeah, so we will do this because it is very important. And it's like you said, people have these great products, these great services. They just don't know how to get them in the hands of the people that can really benefit from them.
Yeah. Yeah. Selling doesn't have to be easy, or it doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to be awkward. It can actually be very easy and very conversational. So yeah, struggling with that, reach out. I'd be happy to support you in whatever way I can.
I love it. Well, until the next time we have you on, do you have any and that was a pretty good final thought, but do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
The final thought I really love to leave people with is that people need what it is that you offer in the world, whatever it is that you're selling, whatever it is that you're doing. And your job is to just make it as easy as possible for them to get access to it. And that means extending yourself and issuing invitations to invite people to learn more, to hear more, to go deeper with you. And when you do that, you'll find that you make it easier for people to buy.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm Deb Creer. I've been having so much fun chatting again with Nikki Rausch, the CEO of Sales Maven. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.